Hi, welcome back, students. It's good to be with you. In this training, we are going to be discussing time logs or timesheets. This is going to be something you're going to be interacting with on a weekly basis as you go throughout this next practicum year. So let's dive in. This should be your dashboard. So hopefully you've logged into eMedley. If you watched the previous video about creating quick links or shortcuts, you'll see that on the desktop. This would be the easiest way to get into your time logs. However, if you're more traditional, you can go to the top menu, click on clinical. That will pull up this menu here. You can click on time logs. This link will take you to the same place as your desktop. All right, here is your time logs home screen. In this screen here, there's a couple of functions that you're going to need to know. It's really user-friendly and pretty self-explanatory. We'll start up at the top right where you click add. Now this is going to mean add a time card. This other one feature that says clock in next to it, I would advise you not to use that. We have some features in eMedley that isn't quite going to go well with that clock in feature. So from here on out, I just advise you use the add button. That's going to be the simplest way to go throughout the year. Once you click add, it is going to pull up this next window. This is your kind of time log video or window that you're going to be entering in several different fields of information. So let's start off with the time field, one of the most important. Obviously, you've got to keep track of time. So if you go to that plus sign in the upper right-hand corner there, you're going to click on that. It's going to pull up a little window and it's going to kind of give you an immediate sort of error. Now that error is more so a reminder for you that you need to enter your time in that particular format that it says right here. It needs to be the hour, then a colon, then the minutes, space, AM or PM, and then that'll work out fine. So let me show you here. You're gonna enter your time in. Once you do that, you'll enter your time out and it should look like this. So pretty standard. You're not going to necessarily need to do anything special. Just do it as though you were typing it out. Once it goes in fine, it'll clear out that little kind of reminder error, that red, and you'll be fine. Let's move over to the left-hand side. Now, the left-hand side of the screen there's a couple of menus. First off, this schedule that has a little red star next to it, although it looks like it's required, it is not. This is going to be built into eMedley that you already only have one schedule. Unlike, for example, nursing students and medical residents that also use this type of program, they have several different schedules. In social work, we only have the one schedule. So don't worry about marking or doing anything with this field. Let's move down now to the competencies field. Now this field is going to be very important. In fact, it's going to be new this year for those who were doing practicum with us in previous years. This competency field is going to be important. So what you're going to do is over on the right-hand side, there's a drop-down menu. It's going to pull up a window that's going to allow you to select multiple competencies that you've accomplished that day in your practicum connected with the daily activities that you've been doing. So that connection needs to be really clear this year. So for example, these are the 9 competencies that you're being taught in the USU, MSW, or BSW programs. These competencies are part of the Council on Social Work Education accreditation requirements. So you should become familiar with these. Now, as you go throughout your day, you're going to be doing all sorts of activities in your practicum. Those activities then should fall under one of these categories or multiple categories. I encourage you to mark multiple ones as long as the activity fits with that. So let's go through an example. Let's say you meet with a client that day. You start meeting with them, you speak with them, you use your amazing social work skills. That can be considered engagement in practice. You're using your active listening, your reflective listening, you're beginning to interact professionally with clients. That is engagement in practice. Then let's say you sit down with the particular client and you begin to do an intake or an assessment. Or if you're in a meso practice, let's say you're going out and meeting with community members and doing a needs assessment, or you're finding out the context of the community. That is also assessment in practice. For those who are doing more of a clinical placement, similarly, this could be an intake, this could be part of a session where you're assessing what happened. Then finally, Let's say that as you're working with that particular client, you possibly provide them with resources, you possibly do some problem solving with them, you do maybe a clinical intervention, maybe at a meso level, you begin to maybe write some sort of grant or some sort of policy, or you're reaching out to connect agencies together, whatever that might be. That is more of an intervention in practice. Great, hopefully you're following this well. Then finally, let's say in the midst of working with this client, they bring up a question or possible scenario that involves child welfare, and it raises some ethical questions and maybe some professional questions that you will need to staff or want to staff with your field instructor. You can also mark that one as long as you are going to take that discussion to your field instructor to then staff that case with them. It could be suspected abuse, it could be other child welfare concerns. That could be marked under Competency 1, Ethics and Professionalism. So once you've marked as many as you want, you can mark one, you can mark multiple ones, click done in the upper right. You'll see that those appear there on the left-hand side. Now here's the trick. Your next step is to then write a brief description of your daily activities based on and connected to the competencies, as I just kind of gave you that scenario. One thing to remember, please do not put any sort of HIPAA confidential information in the daily description. Do not put names, any identifiable description of who you worked with or what the situation was. Speak in general terms. For example, you could write down clinical practice. So let's say this student is in a clinical practice. They wrote down that they did clinical practice with 6 clients. In the midst of that clinical practice, they engaged, they assessed, and they intervened. Then in that scenario, let's say then that they discussed ethical and professional dilemmas regarding child welfare with their field instructor that day, or maybe later that week, but they made a note that they were going to discuss it. That then, here on this page, is what you need to complete for your daily time log when you went to your practicum. After you've done all that, once again, don't worry about that schedule field, even though it looks like something has to be there. Leave it blank, you'll be fine. Then in the upper right, you'll see add. Go ahead and click that, and away you go. What you'll see here is it adds a time log to your time log screen. Now in this case, I pre-recorded this and have a screenshot, so it's not quite matching up. However, this is what it would look like as you begin to stack up multiple times for multiple days and weeks. Over on the right-hand side, left-hand side, you'll see the date and then the times. Over on the right-hand side, you'll see the total number of hours that you entered, and you'll see the status of the time log. Now, there are 3 types of status for time log. There is pending. Now, that's when you enter your time log and it's waiting for your field instructor's approval. Approved, obviously, is your field instructor received notification that they need to sign off or approve your hours, and they approved it. And finally, denied. Now, that should be a very, very rare case. However, if your field instructor denies your time log, what you'll need to do is follow up with that individual to find out exactly what needed to be corrected or done to make it to go to approved status. Now, the great thing about this system is it's very forgivable in that we can go back and edit our time logs to make any corrections that we need to, so that your field instructor can then approve it if it was ever denied. In order to change anything in your time log, what you do is you highlight the time log that you want. You go up to the upper right-hand corner that says Actions. That will pull down a little menu that says View, Edit, or Delete. You can actually delete a time log if you need to. Let's say, for example, we want to edit this one. You needed to add more information. That'll pull up this window once again that we just saw. It should have similar information. You can change the information that you need to, and then go ahead. It'll highlight Save up in the corner, and it will save the time card and change it. Let's move on to another feature in time logs. This is what it will look like. I just want to show you what it will look like as your time logs begin to stack up throughout the year. It's going to look busy. Here is the pending status that I just spoke about. Here's the approved status, another pending. So it'll be very obvious to you what needs to be approved by your field instructor. So I encourage you to follow up with them if you're seeing a lot of pendings that need to be approved. Just ask them if they wouldn't mind going in and approving your time cards. Okay, back to the dashboard. Let's go back to the clinical menu this time, not your quick link. Go to the clinical menu, click on clinical activity reports. Now this is going to be an important feature for you throughout the year because this is going to allow you to see a snapshot of all of your hours. So rather than having to add them up manually by going to the time log screen, you can go to this clinical activity reports, click on this time log reports here. It's going to pull up a window that's going to allow you to do a search of your time logs throughout the entire practicum year. I would encourage you just to leave the time frame as is, the broadest amount. That'll give you the biggest snapshot. You can go more specific if you want to, by semester, by month, whatever. The other fields there, they are optional if you want. I recommend actually the rotation drop down. You can leave that blank. Fieldwork agency, that really wouldn't apply to you because you're not going or bouncing between multiple agencies. In rare occasions, but typically we do not allow that in our program. So you can leave the field agency blank. Similar with field instructor, you should only have one field instructor this entire year. And then finally, approval status. Now this may be one, I put this symbol up there just because it'll allow you to get the broadest view, but this may actually be one that you can change the approval status to either pending, denied, or approved and get a quicker snapshot of those particular time cards. So once you've selected the filters that you want, click done at the bottom. And here's what it looks like. This is going to be a time log report. You can see the dates of the time. You can see the total hours of each of those time logs. What's great is then it'll total it for you. And it'll then give you the status of the time logs. You can see that there's a couple of pending time logs, the rest have been approved. So that's really nice. Whenever you want to go back to your dashboard, to the main menu, I may have mentioned this in other videos, but go up to the upper left-hand side, up to the eMedley logo. This will take you back to your main dashboard. And there you go, you did it. Up next, folks, is evaluations. This is going to be the other half. In addition to time logs, this is going to be one of the most important features that you follow up with because this will affect your entire practicum as you need to get evaluations throughout the entire year. So, way to go. You did it today. You successfully completed the time log training. Awesome. We'll follow up with you in the next video. Take care.